You talk about effective human resources management. What are the key hallmarks from your experience?
Look, one of the major issues I think about good human resources management is understanding the vision of a business, understanding where the business is going, and as a result of that, being able to manage talent within the business. And that's equally about as developing the talent that you have in the business as much as it is getting the right people into your business. There are a lot of occasions when you will find that you've got people who are doing a reasonable job in their particular role, but the reality is they may need some development to be able to get a better outcome for that particular role. And importantly, you might find when they're not doing a good job. And I think it's important, as Jim Collins once said in Good to Great, it's important to understand you've got the right people on the bus. And if the bus is heading in a particular direction, everyone's clear about where it's going, I think it's really important that you understand that you've got the right people there. They are properly developed, you have the right training and development in place to be able to deliver the outcomes you're trying to deliver on.
Talent management is a term you've referred to. It gets bandied around many organisations, perhaps glibly in some cases. How important is it, and how would you actually define it?
Well, look, talent management is really about, I think, the ability to be able to encourage an employee to be able to deliver their best. Being able to develop an employee so that they understand exactly what their potential can be in a business. To be able to have succession planning in place for a particular business, very important thing to do, because you find that there will be occasions when a critical key member of your organisation will leave and you'll find that there is no replacement for that employee. So the human resources management piece of that is about making sure that you have the right talent and you identify the right talent. They are trained and they are ready to step up when the need arises. And the talent management piece is as much about performance management and performance review as it is about ensuring you've got the right people in the right roles.
How important would you say it is to have an effective and reliable human resources information management system?
Well, look, it's a very difficult thing to manage human resources without a human resources information system, one that's capable of managing an enormous amount of data about employees. And that can be anything from leave management to performance management to the review of succession planning and a number of other things. But a good manager relies on good information. And if you're able to develop a system, or you are able to purchase a system into your business that's able to deliver that, you've certainly got a heads up on exactly what's happening in your business. And you're able then to more effectively assist management to manage their employees.
The HR department often gets a fairly bad rap in many organisations. I'm just curious to know what can be done to change that. In your experience, are there particular ways that it can be positioned or operating that can add real value or be perceived to add value to an organisation?
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. There are occasions when people look at HR and they say, they are not delivering on what they have said they would do. I'm a firm believer that a good HR practitioner should have a clear understanding of business. Now, this is not primarily just human resources. This is about everything. This is about operations management. The opportunity to take someone who is a potential leader in human resources in your business and put them into an operations role is a significant improvement, I think. Their ability to empathise with a particular group of people, managers who are clearly do have a problem with a particular issue, is really important. Otherwise, you can be seen as interfering, as somebody who's just there not actually doing or adding any value. I'm a firm believer that HR has an opportunity to add value to the business.
Historically, HR has always been considered more of a centralised function, but increasingly we're seeing it operating in a distributed way, so engaging with the business in a partnership arrangement. Is that a trend that's important, and do you see it continuing?
Well, I have a quite controversial view about HR in business as well, and that is that it's my view that every manager should be an HR manager. So the reality is, if you're out there managing your business properly, you should have as much knowledge as possible about human resources as your human resources management team. To be able to manage human resources that way, I think, is a much better way for the process to happen. Importantly, there are going to be many occasions when you need the detailed legal advice or detailed industrial advice that perhaps you're not party to or you're not able to get immediately. But any good manager in any good business, I think, should take a clear lead from the fact that good HR management means good understanding of a business, all aspects of a business, finance, operations, all parts of the business, even the sales and marketing part of it. So,
how important would you say having effective communications is in the enterprise bargaining arrangements?
well, as I said previously, I think communication is one of the most critical things in any business. It's really important to be able to communicate effectively with employees about what's happening in the business. The communication aspect is not only communication to a large number of people, it's also that one-on-one communication between a manager and an employee. Giving a manager the opportunity and the ability to be able to communicate and performance manage employees in its business is a very important part of that process. It is communication, communication, communication.
Okay, thank you. You've talked about many of the important things around the process of enterprise bargaining. What role does leadership play? What role should the leaders of that organisation be taking when it comes to bargaining?
Look, leadership is a really important part of this process. It's important to understand that any good business is going to have good leaders. I'm a firm believer that there needs to be a leadership context to the negotiation process. The managing director must be involved. You've got somebody who's responsible for the vision of the business, responsible for the strategic input to the business, and as a result of that must clearly understand what is being negotiated on his behalf and the business's behalf in those meetings. So importantly, I think it is really important that you have a number of people involved in that process, but the leaders of each of the particular departments must certainly be involved in that process as well. And I'm talking here also about those leadership qualities that need to be brought to the table. And and these are the leadership qualities of honesty and commitment and accountability and integrity, the things that really matter when people are negotiating. Basically, when you're in the table and at the table negotiating with any parties, it's important to show those leadership qualities.
Once the enterprise bargaining process is finished, what's the role of the leader then? How should the information, how should the outcomes be communicated to the organisation? Do they have to then sell that back into the organisation?
Yeah, they do. They need to communicate that back into the organisation and the reasons for why they thought it necessary to take the position they took in the negotiation process. So, out of a negotiation, there will be occasions when businesses and employees will not get what they want. It is a compromise in a sense, it's important that people understand that it is and can be a compromise. Sometimes there are going to be issues within the structure of your strategic plan that are not able to be compromised. And importantly, people need to understand that, because you will have occasions when there will be things that you simply cannot compromise on. It may be a burning platform about a particular issue in your business. It may be a dramatic financial circumstance in your business where you need to address something in the business. So you may need to push hard. Both parties may believe they need to push hard on certain points. But I think a business that shows true leadership with those attributes I talked about earlier will have a better outcome in the negotiation process.
When it comes to enterprise bargaining, is everything on the table? Should everything be up for grabs?
Look, there are always going to be non-negotiables. I think there will be. But most of those, I think, will be critical to where the business is, either its financial position or a particular direction or vision that the business needs to go on. And the interesting thing about those particular circumstances is that if it is a compelling story and it is a burning platform, then managers need to be able to deliver the message around that burning platform or that message, the message about that story. It's no use just convincing your management team this is an issue. You have to convince the entire workforce that this is an issue that needs to be dealt with and one that we cannot compromise on. And where there is a compelling argument for things like that, I think you need to stand your ground, and you need to be able to manage standing your ground in respect to those issues.
I'm interested what the role of the public relations group is when it comes to enterprise bargaining. Often many companies have an impact in society. What role does PR play in that?
Yeah, it should. You should understand that everything you do and say is probably going to become public. And that impacts on your brand, and your brand is very important to this process. I'm a firm believer that employees will link to brands. They will link quite heavily to brands, and as a result of that, you will find employees that will be just as disturbed about the impact of the brand awareness in the community if there is an industrial dispute.
Yep.